Have you ever felt that even when surrounded by people, your heart still feels empty? That the days are too long and the nights even quieter? If you're going through this, I want you to know, you're not alone. In this video, we'll walk together through a sensitive but deeply human topic, loneliness on difficult days, especially in our later years when so many changes happen at once, children growing up and leaving home, friends passing away, retirement altering our routines. It's common to feel a little lost, sometimes even invisible. But there is a way forward, and it starts here. Today, I'll show you 10 practical, simple, and powerful strategies that can turn emotional isolation into reconnection, purpose, and inner peace. Stay with me until the end of this video, because loneliness may knock at your door, but you hold the key to opening new paths. Understanding loneliness. Loneliness, it is such a small word, yet carrying a weight many of us bear in silence. It doesn't pick an age, color, or social status. It just arrives. Sometimes softly, almost unnoticed. Other times like a storm that catches us off guard. But first, we need to understand this. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. There's a huge difference between being alone and feeling alone. We can be surrounded by people, at home, out in public, at parties, and still feel an emptiness in our chest, a sense of disconnection, as if no one truly sees us, as if we're out of step with the world. For those over 60, 70, or beyond, this feeling can grow stronger. As children move on with their lives, friends pass away, and the routines that once filled our days change or disappear. The silence of the house starts echoing in the soul. It's not just the absence of voices, but the absence of meaning. And that hurts. It's also common to feel guilty for feeling this way. We think, but I have a home, a family, my health. So why this heaviness in my chest? Why this quiet sadness that creeps in at night? Or when I'm sitting on the couch, unsure where to look? It's time to lift that weight off your shoulders. Loneliness isn't your fault. It's not a sign of weakness or that you did something wrong. It's part of the human experience. It can stem from emotional factors like unprocessed grief, old wounds, or simply the accumulated exhaustion from a lifetime of battles. It can have social causes like distance from family, moving cities, or retirement. And it can have internal roots, like the feeling that the world is moving too fast and we've been left behind. But here's the most important point. Understanding loneliness is the first step to overcoming it. When we look at it with honesty and kindness, it stops being an invisible monster. It takes on a name, a shape, boundaries. And what has a shape, we can transform. Maybe you're listening to this with a lump in your throat, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling. On the contrary, feeling is proof you're alive, that you still care. Understanding loneliness doesn't mean accepting it forever. It means acknowledging it, seeing why it's there, and slowly making space for other sensations, like hope, affection, companionship, to enter as well. If loneliness has roots, then it can also be uprooted, and you have that strength within you. Throughout this video, we'll talk about practical, human ways to cope with it. And if you stay with me until the end, I promise, I won't offer magic fixes, but real, grounded paths, ones that respect your time, your story, and your pain. Recognizing the signs. Sometimes loneliness doesn't come shouting. It whispers. It sneaks into the little things, small gestures, small absences. And if we don't pay attention, it settles in slowly, like dust gathering in a house where the windows have stayed shut too long. That's why it's so important to recognize the signals our body and mind send us. Because before loneliness turns into deep sadness, it sends warnings. One of the first signs is apathy, that lack of motivation to get out of bed, to take care of the house, to go for a walk. Activities that once brought joy, like an afternoon, coffee with cake, or listening to an old song, start to lose their flavor. It's as if life fades to gray. Then comes the silence inside, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind, the one that brings repetitive thoughts, the kind of thoughts that slowly convince us no one cares, that we don't matter, that we're just in the way. That is a lie loneliness loves to tell. Another common sign is irritability. Have you ever caught yourself snapping for no reason? Feeling angry over little things like the phone ringing or a dog barking outside? Often that frustration is your soul crying for help, pain finding another way out. Insomnia often shows up too. We either sleep too much or not at all. And when we finally do sleep, it doesn't refresh us. We wake up tired, drained, as if we're dragging ourselves through each day. These signs aren't weakness. They aren't just being dramatic. They're alarms, a silent alert saying, hey, something inside needs care, needs kindness, needs attention. And recognizing these signs isn't easy. Sometimes out of pride, other times out of habit. We've spent our whole lives learning to be strong, to endure in silence, to not be a burden. But there's an even greater strength. Looking inward and admitting we need help, that we don't want to stay like this, that we deserve more. If you've recognized some of these signs in yourself, know this. You're taking a step of courage, a step of clarity, because only by acknowledging the pain can we begin to heal it. Loneliness thrives in the dark, but just a single beam of light, like this conversation between us, can start to weaken it. And that's what we'll talk about next. How self-care can be one of the keys to reigniting life within us. The importance of self-care. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, when was the last time I took care of myself with real kindness? I'm not talking about taking medicine on time or going to a doctor's appointment because you had to. I mean real care, the kind that comes with tenderness, intention, love. Self-care isn't just an obligation. It's an act of respect, a reminder that you still matter deeply. And more than that, it's a powerful way to turn loneliness into presence with yourself. So often in life, we've been taught to care for others. We cared for children, grandchildren, partners. We gave time, energy, attention, and that's beautiful. But along the way, we forgot ourselves. We kept putting ourselves off for tomorrow, for when there's time. But now maybe time is finally yours. And there's nothing selfish about that. There's wisdom in it. There's reconnection. Self-care starts with simple things. A slow, mindful shower, feeling the water run over your skin. A cup of coffee made just for you, served with care, as if you were welcoming a dear guest. And that guest is you. It's also about nourishing yourself. Eating not just to satisfy hunger, but to feed your body and soul. Avoiding excess, seeking balance. Choosing foods that make you feel good and bring vitality. Because every meal is a chance to thank the body that's carried you this far. Movement is part of this care too. A slow walk through the neighborhood, feeling the breeze on your face. Stretching, dancing to an old song in the living room. Your body was made to move. And when it does, it speaks. It says, I'm still here. I still can. But self-care is also emotional. Pausing for a few minutes each day to listen to yourself, to feel what's been kept inside. Sometimes you need to cry, other times to laugh alone. And all of that is normal. It's healthy. It's human. Finally, self-care lives in the spiritual too. Whatever your faith or belief, prayer, meditation, quiet contemplation, there's power in connecting with something greater. With nature, with God, with the universe, or with whatever you hold sacred. Taking care of yourself isn't a luxury. It's a necessity, especially on hard days when the world feels distant and your heart craves comfort. In those moments, you can be your own shelter, the embrace you needed, the kind words you didn't hear, the gentle touch that soothes. Loneness. Lessons when we treat ourselves with kindness. When we become our own company, the silence changes. It's no longer emptiness, but rest. In the next section, we'll talk about something that strengthens this process even more. Meaningful connections. Because once you've cared for yourself, opening up to others becomes easier and more beautiful. Or cultivating meaningful connections. Once we learn to care for ourselves, we begin to notice something precious. Human beings are made for connection, for encounters, for the warmth of an embrace, even if sometimes that embrace isn't physical, but emotional, spiritual, and true. Many older adults face the loss of connections, friends who've passed, family who've drifted apart, children and grandchildren too busy with life's rush. And it's in that silence that loneliness grows, but it's also where the opportunity lies to reclaim or even build new meaningful connections. Real connection isn't about quantity. It's not about having dozens of contacts or followers. It's about one or two people with whom you can truly be yourself. Someone to share a memory, advice, a smile, or an unhurried afternoon of conversation. Sometimes these connections are closer than we think. A lonely neighbor, an old friend you haven't spoken to in years, a church group or a gathering at the park. The world is still full of people who want to listen and be heard. People who, just like you, miss real conversation. Here's a simple secret. Connection begins with genuine interest. Just start by asking, "How are you, really?" Or remember that time when the thread of conversation unravels and suddenly, there it is, a bond being woven. But to cultivate connections, you also have to allow yourself. Step out, even if just for a few minutes. Join book clubs, discussion groups, dance classes, or choirs. If you can't go out, use technology to your advantage. Video calls with grandchildren, messages exchanged with childhood friends, or even joining online groups with shared interests. What matters is keeping an open heart. You might think, at this stage of life, I won't make new friends. But that's not true. Life keeps offering us encounters until the very end, and every new person who crosses our path brings a chance for renewal. Who knows? Maybe even a fresh start. Meaningful connections don't heal everything, but they ease so much. They bring the comfort of knowing that if you need someone, there's a person you can count on. Someone who will listen, even if it's just to sit together in silence. Remember, bonds aren't forced. They're nurtured, like a delicate plant. They take time, attention, and a little courage to make space within yourself. But once cultivated, these ties become true remedies against loneliness. And it's not too late. It's never too late to give or receive affection. Never too late to rekindle a friendship or start a new one. Even if it begins on a park bench, in a grocery line, or right here in this video, in the desire to find meaning again, technology as an ally. For many of us, technology arrived like a wave, too fast, too loud, too hard to understand. Computers, smartphones, apps, social media. It can all seem confusing, even intimidating. But what if I told you that behind all these screens and buttons lies a bridge? A powerful one. One that can bring you back to moments with your grandchildren, conversations with a distant friend, the feeling of being included, present, alive. Technology, when used well, doesn't push us apart. On the contrary, it brings us closer, and especially on hard days, it can be a true companion. Think of all the possibilities in a simple phone, a video call to see the smile of a grandchild who lives far away, a chat group where you can exchange recipes, stories, or even heartfelt talks with people your age, or maybe watching videos like this one, offering comfort, reflection, and presence. You might say, "But I don't know how to use this," and that's okay. No one is born knowing. Technology doesn't demand haste. It asks for curiosity. And that you have in abundance. Learning something new is a powerful exercise for the mind and a reminder that it's never too late to grow. Many community centers, churches, and even schools offer workshops to teach smartphone basics. WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook. And if you have a grandchild nearby, ask for help. They'll be happy to teach, and you'll be planting a memory of love and exchange. The internet can also be a source of inspiration. Audiobooks, lectures, old songs you haven't heard in decades. They're all there, just a click away. It's like opening a new window to the world without leaving your seat. Of course, like any tool, technology requires care. Use it wisely. Choose content thoughtfully. and respect your own limits of time and energy. The goal isn't to become glued to the screen, but to use it as a channel for connection with life. And remember, you're not too old to learn. On the contrary, you're experienced enough to know what truly matters. And if technology can bring you companionship, comfort, and even purpose, then it's worth it. Don't exclude yourself from this new era. Embrace it calmly, lightly, at your own pace, because every message exchanged, every call answered, every new skill learned is a way to overcome isolation, to show that the world may change, but you're still capable of being part of it. In the next section, we'll look at something else that transforms the heart, something we often forget to practice in times of pain: gratitude, a quiet force that can soothe even the darkest days. Practicing daily gratitude. On difficult days, it's common for the heart to feel heavy, for thoughts to darken, and for loneliness to seem all-consuming. But even on such days, there exists something quiet, subtle, that can ignite small lights within us: gratitude. Gratitude isn't pretending everything's fine when it's not. It's not covering pain with pretty words. Gratitude is the profound act of recognizing what still remains, even amidst loss. It's seeing the details that persist, that still support, however fragile, the framework of our hope. Sometimes it's just sunlight streaming through a window, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of rain on the roof. Other times, it's a phone call that came when you needed it most, or a warm memory that comforts from within. The practice of gratitude begins with how we look at things, a gaze attentive to simplicity, to small things, because often it's in these small things that the essential resides. You might start with a notebook. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't need to be grand. It could be managing to get out of bed, preparing a meal, hearing a song that touched your heart. This consistent exercise changes the brain. Science confirms it reduces anxiety, alleviates sadness, and strengthens emotional health. But more than that, it changes how we see life. Gratitude is also memory, remembering good moments we've lived, people who crossed our path and left their mark. Gratitude retrieves these memories like flipping through an old photo album, with tenderness, with respect, and with peace. But true gratitude can also emerge from pain. It can come from recognizing what loss has taught us, what loneliness has shown us. It doesn't deny suffering, but transforms our relationship with it. It's important to say, you don't need to be happy to be grateful. Gratitude doesn't demand a smile. It only asks for presence and willingness to see beyond what's missing. Often people our age hear, "You should be grateful to be alive." But that's not enough. Gratitude isn't an obligation. It needs to be felt. It must come from the heart, not from others' expectations. And when it does, it becomes a balm, a relief, a new way of living, not by ignoring pain, but by welcoming it and choosing to move forward regardless. If you're listening now with heaviness in your chest, try this. Close your eyes and ask, what brought me a little light today? Maybe it's this very conversation. Maybe it's simply you being here, seeking healing, seeking meaning, service to others as a path to healing. There's a quiet force that stirs within us when we choose to do good, a force that comes not from obligation or vanity, but from the soul. Serving others, even in simple ways, can be one of the most effective paths to overcoming loneliness and rediscovering purpose. When we help someone, something in us shifts. A part that was often dormant awakens. Helping fosters belonging. It reminds us we're still useful, that we still matter, that we can be sources of comfort, even hope, in someone else's life. And understand this, helping doesn't need to be grand. We're not talking about major projects or difficult tasks. We mean small gestures full of meaning, like making soup for someone in need, calling an acquaintance to sincerely ask, "Are you really okay?" Listening patiently to that lonely neighbor who just needs to talk. Often, older age brings feelings of uselessness, as if our time to contribute has passed, as if all that remains is waiting, But this isn't true. What you know, what you've lived, what you feel, all this is wisdom to share, and that too is service. You could be the one who tells stories to grandchildren, teaches an old recipe at the church group, visits a nursing home bringing your presence as gift. Believe me, so many people are waiting for exactly what you have to offer. The beautiful thing is, when we help someone, we're also helping ourselves. Because caring breaks isolation. It shifts focus from personal pain to the field of compassion, where there's space for something new. New affection, new friendship, even new reasons to wake each morning. How often after a simple gesture have you heard, "Thank you, you helped me today"? Now imagine hearing that, and feeling deep down that you helped yourself in that moment too. This is how service heals, not just others, but the helper too. Because the love we give returns, and the loneliness we feel gradually dissolves in genuine connection. Maybe you're thinking, what, but I don't have the strength I once did. That's okay. Service can be gentle. It can be through words, prayer, presence. Even listening can be profound love. In the coming minutes, we'll reflect on something that walks hand in hand with service, spirituality. Because when we act with love, often we're touching something sacred without even realizing it. Spirituality is a source of comfort and purpose. When life leads us down difficult paths, when the silence of loneliness stretches across days, something within us searches for meaning, an inner calling that seeks deeper connection with something greater. This calling has a name: spirituality. Spirituality isn't confined to religion. It exists both inside and outside temples, masses, services, rituals. It's the invisible thread connecting our hearts to life's mystery, to faith, to hope, to the feeling that we're not alone, even when no one is nearby. For many in our generation, spirituality was the foundation during times of loss, illness, and new beginnings. And today it can also be relief from loneliness, because it brings presence, even in absence. Have you noticed how a simple prayer, offered with an open heart, can calm your chest? How a verse, sacred passage, or even an inspiring phrase can bring strength to carry on? Spirituality has this power. It doesn't erase pain, but transforms how we walk with it. It reminds us we're part of something greater, that life has cycles, that even the soul's winter prepares the soil for spring. In lonely moments, we often feel invisible, but through faith, we rediscover we're seen, we're heard, that there's a God, an energy, a loving presence, remaining with us, even in darkness. And it's not just about comfort. Spirituality also restores purpose. It reminds us we're still here for a reason, that our lives have value, that our prayers, our gestures, our presence still make a difference in this world. You can cultivate this spirituality simply through daily prayer, meditation, reading sacred texts, through contemplating nature, gazing at the sky, sunset, or a flower blooming in the yard. In each moment, there's sacred space. You can also reconnect with faith through devotional music, online services, prayer circles with friends, or quiet moments, allowing yourself to feel what's alive within. And if you're experiencing doubt or spiritual weariness, that's okay. Faith doesn't need to be constant to be real. It can waver, weaken, even seem distant, but it can still be rediscovered. Remember, spirituality is a home we can always return to, no matter our age, circumstances, or how long we've been away. God, or whatever name you give this force, never closes the door. They wait, they welcome, they hear even silence. And when the soul reconnects with this greater presence, even loneliness changes form. Because we realize we're not and never were truly alone. Closing message. Loneliness may seem like too great a challenge to face, but as we've seen today, it can also be an invitation to reconnect with yourself, with those around you, and with the life that still pulses in every moment. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Every step you take, no matter how small, is already a victory. cultivating connections, practicing gratitude, opening yourself to spirituality and service. These are seeds that blossom in the heart, transforming isolation into presence. If this video touched your heart, I invite you to leave a comment below. Share your experiences, your questions, or simply say hello so we can continue this conversation together in this community of wisdom and care. And if you're not subscribed yet, take a moment to join us here on the channel. That way, you won't miss any of our gatherings, created with love especially for you, someone who deserves to live these days with more light and warmth. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourself with love, and I'll see you in the next video.